ripped off by managers and agents and record labels. Sly Stone was one of them, Sly and the Family Stone, and I've been helping him out for the last 10 years. But every time I license a clip of footage to a documentary or a commercial, I give half the money to the artist. Just to help him out, you know, because, I mean, the way I look at it, these guys and gals are our childhood heroes, and they gave us these great memories, so why not help them out, you know? Do what the record industry refuses to do. You know, instead of holding the music captive and kidnapping it away from people, you know, we're here tonight, and thank God we can see these things, and I'm only too glad to bring it to the screen. So, any other questions that I have? Or?
How did they happen to all be in one archive that you, I mean?
Well, it wasn't all in one archive.
Oh.
This came over a number of different collections that I bought. There was another ad agency. I used to work for a silent film producer, which sounds kind of ridiculous. He used to restore silent films, a man named Paul Killian, pretty famous in the silent film field. And down the hall from him was an ad agency that went belly up in chapter 13, chapter 11. And they dumped all their videotapes at Paul's office while I was working there. So one day I come in, and Paul is erasing them to put silent films on, to use them for demo tapes, demonstration tapes. And I see, you know, these things like, you know, Moody Blues and the Beatles and stuff. And I said, what are you doing with those tapes? He said, oh, they dumped them down the hall, so we're just erasing them. And I said, I'll give you my week's paycheck to take them. And I forked over my $300, and I walked out of it with boxes and boxes and stuff. But he didn't realize what was on them. But I didn't either until I started viewing them. So it's a shame. Some of it got erased, you know, about 15 hours, but I saved the rest of it. But this sort of thing happened a few times, you know, where I was in the business and people had storage vaults that they didn't pay for, and the film lab would say, listen, why don't you buy it? You know, just give me whatever price and then just walk out of here with it. So I did. But, you know, it's a lot of fun to look at, you know, and there's hours and hours of stuff, so we could do a whole chapter on the Beatles and Rolling Stones and other things like that. But it's a lot of time and effort to preserve things like that, make the sound sharper and the picture clearer. Of course, a lot of these old black and white TV shows were not meant to be seen on a 10 by 15 foot screen. You know, remember we used to watch TV on a 7-foot round screen. That's what I had. And the color was green. So I used to watch Mr. Ed on a green screen TV. Is there any other questions? Oh, yes.
So they were just beginning to experiment with the art of lip syncing? And
Yeah.
wasn't there a lot of that going on? And didn't the Kinks kind of not do it very well?
Well, I think maybe deliberately, they probably didn't rehearse very good. But in those days, there was two ways to do this. You could pay the group and the producer a lot of money, and you got the group live. And if you want to pay the cheap price, you got them to lip sync. So shows like Hullabaloo and Shindig, which looked like they had a budget of $1.99, chose lip syncing a lot of the times. Shindig, I think, did more of the live stuff. And it was a pretty decent show. If you notice, I don't know if anybody saw, in some of the Hullabaloo and Shindig clips, the dancers, one of them is Goldie Hawn, and before she was famous, and the other was Terry Garr. If, people remember her from Tootsie. But they started out dancing on those shoes and getting paid like $2 a day.
There's a question in the back.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Are you going to be doing like an American thing as well, or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a couple of American compilations, including one called The Summer of Love, 1967. And it's got a combination of both American and English. But we do have some American compilations as well.
That you take around?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the Birds and, you know, Mamas and the Papas and the Turtles and Love and Spoonful and all those groups.
Oh, that's awesome. I would just like to thank you for the choice that the songs that you chose were terrific. One last question.
Yes.
Ben, was that Ben Morrison?
Yes, Ben Morrison.
I forgot all about that. That's so cool.
I know, when you hear the voice. Now, technically, two of the groups were not English. Ben Morrison was from Belfast, Ireland, and the other group, the Seekers, was from Australia. But they were so popular at the time that people assumed they were from England, because everything halfway decent or more was coming out of England, so they kind of got lumped into that category. And and they wound up on some of the best English and American TV shows. So I kind of stuck them in there. Any other questions, or I'll take you and
And there's another one in the back here.
oh, we do the back one first, and I'll do. Sorry. Yes.
Are you planning on having this available for sale at any time?
You know, a lot of times when you do these DVDs, and I've done a few, you have to clear all the rights with the artists and the management, and sometimes the artists are not getting along, or the record label doesn't get along with them. So this is why you don't see these things, because you can't get them to sign off. Years ago I did something with Pink Floyd, and Roger Waters said, well, I'm not signing off if he's going to be in the clip. And I said, yeah, but he's David Gilmour, he's singing in the clip, how can I cut him out? You know? So it took 6 months of negotiations, and I got an idea with my lawyer, and we called Roger up and said, listen, sign off and we'll give all the money to Sid Barrett, the member of the group that went off in mental illness. So Roger agreed, and we gave him all the money, and that was the end of the problem. But sometimes you have to do things like that. But yeah, that's why you don't see these things, because not everybody can agree. We had a question, I'm going to take you, and then we'll go.
Is there any place that you show these on a regular basis?
Yeah, in Huntington, Long Island, there's a place called the Cinema Arts Center, and it's a theater like this, and we show them every month. And what did we just show? The Police, we showed a couple weeks ago. And on the 29th, we're going to do The Grateful Dead. And this coming Tuesday, we're doing Bette Midler. Well, I'm working with the Gay and Lesbian Film Festival. So they asked me to put together a whole night of Bette Midler, and that's great, you know, I thought she was good. Any other questions? Or just shout them out, or Connie can
Can you
pick.
tell us a little bit more about some of the shows, the Hullabaloo and Shindig, how they ran for, and you know, I saw ABC did. Was that Shindig?
Yeah, ABC was Shindig, and NBC did Hullabaloo,
Okay.
and they only ran for 2 years.
Okay.
You know, Shindig ran from 64 to 66, and I think Hullabaloo the same thing. And not all the episodes exist. A lot of those videotapes that these were made on were erased. And only a handful of the shows were kinescope. In other words, they took a movie camera, 16 millimeter, filmed off the monitor, which is why you get that kind of flat fishbowl look. But that's the only way these things are preserved.
And is that were all these groups filmed in the U.S. then?
Some of them weren't. There's one clip of the Animals where Shindig went over to England
Okay.
to the Reading Festival with that tent, that striped tent you see.
Yeah.
And that was filmed over in the Reading Festival.
What was that big, like arena, or there was a big venue for some live?
Yeah, the Rolling Stones were there, and I think Cream was there, The Who. So they all kind of got their start. And the English show, Ready, Steady, Go, that had Van Morrison and Lulu on it, and Dave Clark, there's only a handful of those shows too. That only lasted 2 years in England. And Cream made their first appearance on that show, and Simon and Garfunkel as well. James Brown, a whole bunch of groups, and they don't exist anymore, sadly. The tapes are gone. Any program question over here? I think, or no?
Question way in the back.
Way in the back? Okay.
On the one, Game of Love, was that the Mindbenders?
Yeah, Wayne Fontana.
But he only did one song with them, didn't he? Because they did Groovy Kind of Love without him.
Right. Yeah, this is the one with him.
That's one with him, so that was Wayne Fontana.
That was Wayne Fontana, so yeah. It was good. Yeah, we had Groovy Kind of Love. I didn't put that in, I'm sorry.
It was on Fontana label too, wasn't it, the record?
Right. Yeah, the Fontana label.
Yes, like his father's company or something.
Yeah, the Trogs were on that label, and later Steam was on the label, and a few other acts. Nah, hey, hey. They made that joke that was a B-side, actually. It was. They made it as a joke. They didn't think it was serious, but it became like his #1 hit. That was an American group too. Any other questions? No? Yes? Anybody? No? In the back or anybody? No? All right.
Coming back.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
big round of applause.
And we might bring him back, I don't know, quarterly, annually. He's got quite the collection in the warehouse, and, actually, what would you guys like to see?
Stones.
Stones?
Yeah.
Beatles?
Beatles.
Yeah.
Grateful Dead?
Old.
Old?
Led Zeppelin?
All of it.
All right.
60s.
Blind Faith, yeah, we have a Stevie Winwood thing with Traffic and Blind Faith and Spencer Davis Group. We have Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, we did, Creedence. Simon and Garfunkel,
Oh.
Janis Joplin,
Motown.
Motown. We have a great Motown.
Yeah.
It's got Otis Redding too.
Great, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
And come back tonight and tomorrow.